At 0219 hours on a moonless night over the Zagros Mountains, two 30,000-pound bombs separated from a weapons bay that Iranian radar had not detected, did not track, and could not locate. The aircraft that dropped them had already turned for home. The bombs were still accelerating toward a mountain that was supposed to be impenetrable. What happened in the next 11 seconds rewrote the rules of what a bunker actually means. The B-21 Raider is the United States Air Force's sixth-generation strategic bomber. Its radar cross-section is smaller than a metal sphere 4 centimeters across. At operational altitude, it does not appear on radar. It does not appear on infrared sensors. It does not appear in the electromagnetic spectrum in any way that a ground-based system can process as a threat. To the most advanced Russian-built air defense network Iran had assembled, the S-400 Triumph batteries positioned along its western approaches, the Raider simply did not exist. That invisibility is not the most dangerous thing about it. The GBU-57A/B massive ordnance penetrator weighs 30,000 pounds. Its hardened steel nose cone, reinforced with a tungsten nickel iron alloy, is designed to punch through 200 feet of reinforced concrete before its warhead detonates. When two of them are dropped in sequence, the first punching the hole, the second following through the same aperture to detonate deeper, they do not destroy a bunker. They turn it into a pressure vessel that destroys itself from the inside.
The target at Site 14, north of Bandar Abbas, inside a granite ridge that Iranian engineers had spent 4 years hardening, was a battery of three 3M-22 Zircon hypersonic missile systems. The Zircon flies at Mach 9. It skims at low altitude. Its terminal approach exceeds the intercept envelope of every Aegis variant currently deployed to the Fifth Fleet. If those 3 missiles had reached their launch window, the USS Gerald R. Ford would have faced a weapons problem it could not solve with current inventory. Iran knew the Americans would eventually locate the facility. They had buried it 60 feet below the mountain surface specifically because 60 feet of granite had always been the threshold of conventional defeat. No penetrator bomb in the Western arsenal had reliably achieved that depth against that material density. The KH-11 reconnaissance satellite that overflew the ridge 4 weeks before the strike did not look at the surface. Its signals intelligence package was mapping thermal signatures from underground ventilation shafts, the exhaust heat of the missile fuel storage systems breathing through gaps in the rock. The specific vent shaft coordinates were fed directly into the GBU-57's guidance package. The bomb did not aim at the mountain. It aimed at a hole in the mountain that Iranian engineers had no idea was visible from space. The first bomb impacted at 0219 hours and 7 seconds. It crossed the sound barrier during its terminal descent. The hardened nose drove through 62 feet of granite in under a second. At 0219 hours and 10 seconds, the second bomb entered the same channel and detonated in the propellant storage sector. The Zircon fuel ignited. The secondary explosions tore the mountain apart from inside. The seismic sensors in Dubai registered it as a localized earthquake measuring 3.1 on the Richter scale. Above the wreckage, the B-21 had already closed its weapons bay, reduced its emissions profile to baseline, and was crossing back into international airspace. The entire engagement had lasted 11 seconds, from first bomb impact to mission complete. Iranian air defense never received a warning, not because the system failed, because there was nothing for it to detect.
But here is where the operation becomes something more than a strike. 20 minutes before the bombs dropped, the S-400 batteries positioned on Iran's western approaches had been engaged by the B-21's AN/ASQ-239 electronic warfare suite using a technique called digital radio frequency memory jamming. The system intercepts a radar's own transmission pulse, processes it, and fires back a modified return signal that presents false targets, aircraft where there are none, empty sky where there are aircraft. The Iranian S-400 operators were seeing a full picture. It was a painting. They fired. Two 48N6E3 missiles screamed off their mobile launchers at Mach 5.9. The missiles chased ghost signals through empty air. One detonated on a proximity fuse against nothing. The other crashed into the Persian Gulf 3 miles from any U.S. asset. The Iranian operators realized their $800 million air defense system had just spent 2 missiles on empty sky. The real aircraft had been directly overhead the entire time. That is not a strike. That is a lesson. And the lesson is not about the bomb.
The lesson is about what happens to every future military calculation Iran makes the moment it understands that its most advanced radar cannot tell the difference between an attacking aircraft and a signal that looks like one. The S-400 was supposed to be Iran's shield against exactly this kind of strike. It was not defeated by a better missile or a faster jet. It was defeated by mathematics. The B-21's processing architecture ran the deception algorithm faster than the S-400's receiver could distinguish real from false. The radar lost not because it was outgunned, it lost because it was outthought. Immediately after the strike, U.S. signals intelligence assets confirmed that the Iranian Air Defense Command Network, still processing the failure of the S-400 response, issued an emergency communication to Moscow requesting an explanation for why the Russian-supplied system had malfunctioned. Moscow had no answer, because the system had not malfunctioned. It had performed exactly as designed. It simply could not see what it was up against. The Zircon facility is gone. The 3 missiles that were meant to sink an American carrier are burning craters. And Iran's air defense commanders now know that their most capable asset has a ceiling, and that American technology operates above it. Here is the question you need to think through. The B-21 Raider is currently the only aircraft on Earth that can do this. There are 21 confirmed in service. China's J-20 stealth program has been studying the gap between what their radar can detect and what the Raider can defeat for 2 years. The question is not whether they close that gap. The question is what Iran, which just watched its most expensive system get bypassed entirely, now asks Beijing for in return. Because the next weapon Iran requests will not be a missile. It will be a radar. What do you think happens when that radar arrives? Drop it below and stay close, because the next briefing covers what happened when Russia tried to cut the cables that run the Western economy and the U.S. Navy's response that Moscow is still trying to understand.